I've always had this phobia about going into public toilets. You know, I'd walk in there and I'd be the only person in there, which is in itself a little bit creepy, and I'd go into the cubicle and I'd be preparing to do my business and I look down into the bowl and I see a severed hand. And I think this fear comes back to this one time I went into the toilet and someone hadn't flushed, and there was a tampon, you know, like a used tampon, and well, it looked, at first glance, it looked like a finger because, you know, all the blood and the shape of it. So I think over time that the finger grew into a whole hand. And so you read so much, don't you, you know, about how women just aren't safe in public toilets. Well, any public space really, but you go in and you can think you're alone in there because no one was there when you went into the cubicle, but the next thing you know, you flush and you open the cubicle door and there is like a knife-wielding maniac with a raging hard-on standing there waiting for me. And I think, well, or the cleaner. Mostly it's the cleaner waiting to replace the toilet rolls. But, you know, who's to say? Who's to say that one day it won't be the knife guy with the hard-on? You know, I mean, we don't live in safe times, do we? And there you go. There you go. It will be my hand lying, my severed hand, chopped off, right here, lying in the toilet bowl. One of my little phobias is that one day I will go to the fridge and I'll open the door, and instead of finding the cheese, I will find a decapitated head or a dead cat, as though my neighbour has gone psycho and broken in and left this dead cat in my fridge as a sort of a warning that I will be next. Or it will actually be my neighbour's decapitated head in the fridge, and I'll have no idea why my fridge and who this psycho is. I mean, what are the chances really? But still, our life is full of surprises, isn't it? And you know, mostly though, I do find the cheese often a little mouldy because, yeah, I buy the big blocks and I think I'm going to get through it, but I don't. I turn on the tap to wash the dishes and blood spurts out, and you know what has happened? Is I'm having a supernatural experience in my own kitchen. Satan has taken up residence in my hot water system, and I'm washing the dishes in the blood of the slain. It turns out Satan is real. After all that, he's real, and he's in my hot water system, and he's murdered half the neighbourhood. And no one believes me, of course, no one will believe. The plumber comes and, you know, he takes a look and he just says, it's rust in the pipes, you know, and I'm like, bullshit. And the next thing you know, the plumber, he's just standing there and he turns inside out and drops in a bloody heap on the floor right in front of me. And then you know what else happens? Like it's like this little fire starts, and the next thing I know, he's these ashes. The plumber has turned into ashes, and all I can do now is just get a dustpan and a brush and sweep him up and pop him in the rubbish bin. It's a weird sensation. It's like I see a window, an open window, and I get obsessed about the gap through which I could slip through, as though some weird force was pulling me, you know, pulling me through the window to fall to my death. Unless, of course, I fell on somebody who happened to be walking by right at that moment that I dropped. You know, maybe an obese lady who'd be all sort of soft, she'd break my fall, and maybe, if luck were on her side, she would be big enough to sort of bounce off the pavement. And maybe an experience like that could be one of those really positive, life-changing experiences whereby she goes on a diet and decides to drink more juice. I mean, that's the best case scenario, because, you know, otherwise she'd be dead, I guess. Her head cracked and her brain's all over the pavement. But, you know, ideally she'd go on a diet afterwards. So I had this sort of fear that one day I will organise an event, you know, invite an audience to come and hear me give a paper on the serial murders of Adelaide. The next thing you know, all of this repressed lust swimming around in my body suddenly rears up like a mad beast, and the next thing you know, I take my clothes off and I start masturbating naked in front of this audience who have come to hear a talk about serial murder. I wonder if I'd orgasm. I mean, I wonder if I could. I mean, it's an interesting question, I guess. But yes, so those are some of my little phobias. Spiders, no, spiders don't bother me so much. I